I'm really glad I'm going after Nirmal. I don't know if this is intentional or not, but it's going to work very, very well with what I plan to share with all of you today. So I want to speak about collaboration in the age of AI. Most of this is going to be very, very straightforward, but we're going to get into some fun stuff in a bit. We know that AI has transformed the way that we work. It has completely changed individual work. So AI has completely changed the way that we work personally for any task before we would have, and I'm speaking about knowledge work specifically. Before I jump into this, backtracking a little on my background. As a company mentioned, I'm an AI strategist, but also mainly my day job is as a consultant at a boutique firm. So a lot of what I do is knowledge work. And since AI has been introduced into our firm and our workflows, it has rapidly changed the way that we work individually. When we're working on any given task, deliverable, or even a presentation, we're communicating directly with an LLM or chatbot first before asking our teammates, colleagues, whatever. This is a really, really big shift because information silos are being created. We're starting to have personal relationships with our chatbots in a way that they know us better than anybody does. With that also comes a point of time where the chatbot understands your work stream better than your colleagues because you're speaking to your colleagues less. It understands your problems, it understands your learnings, and make sure it doesn't correct itself. We all know memory that lives in thought and also GPT, and that is really, really good for helping you. But that's where it stops, right? Collaboration in the age of AI has really plummeted in terms of speaking to the person next to you. And that's what I really want to speak to you about. And specifically for enterprise AI. Enterprise AI really, really depends on everybody using AI and gaining productivity from it. But if every single one in this room, if all of you have your own personal AI chatbots, etc., you have your own context, you have your own work streams, you have your personal nuances added to that. But there's no shared team context. This really goes back to the context layer that Nirmal was mentioning. And this is for less, this can be add to a more broader agenda. If you remove it from engineering, if you think about things outside of the engineering context as well, this can be applied to everything that you do today, from knowledge work to startups to even just small teams working on a project together. And more importantly, this is getting very, very relevant today because with enterprise AI, individual productivity does not mean that your team is going to be productive. And it's also more token usage. As you know, AI can be so duplicative. It just goes on and reinvents the wheel and reinvents the wheel. There's no learning. So that shared context here is becoming more and more important. And at the beginning of 2025 and throughout the last year, we were all so bullish on AI spend. Everyone was just leaving their taps open for AI spend. The finance police are on our back now. It's time to talk about usage, ROI. So how do you defend your green light on token mass? And I really want to talk about that today. How do you really defend your productivity gains from AI for your whole team, not just for yourself? By the way, fun fact, this was an email that was sent literally today to our teams about GPT usage exceeding their personal limits, which was really funny to me because I thought I was giving this stuff. So let's talk about this. The next frontier in enterprise AI is going to be how we deal with collaborative workflow design. I never brought up an interesting challenge, and a lot of you brought it up too. How do you make sure that you keep this context as a living, breathing document? Your context is only good as the documents that come with it, and a lot of our documentation is outdated. And then some people also brought up the point that it's really time consuming to update this. So I'm going to introduce a very simple structure. And this is as simple as it gets. We saw existing tools and how it can really transform your work. So the first thing is the key to unlocking this is speed of context transfer. And a lot of you may tell me, have you heard of skills? And I will tell you, yes, I have. I have used skills extensively, but I have noticed that they create a certain bottleneck. With skills, how many of you use skills, by the way? Fantastic. I'm working with the right crowd here. So you create a skill. Let's say I'm the one who created it, and then I have someone install it, and they also install it. So it's a one-way broadcast. You're sending that package over to your teams, right? But let's say we're having a Monday meeting. Think about consulting, right? It's a super fast-paced project, and you want to be recreating decisions across. You create a new decision. There's a hypothesis by afternoon that kills your entire data analysis. And then you have also your client meeting at the end of the day. Is that your skill is unaware of this until someone repackages it, reinstalls it, and then again tells their teammate, okay, can you go ahead and update your shared skill and reinstall? Imagine doing that in the middle of the workday. That's really, really terrible. And there's no way workflows can work. So two main things. I think skills are a great broadcast mechanism. However, they don't solve the collaborative problem, that reference engine, right? There's no right back. You only have insights from one person and then knowledge dies in that chat, right? And then you have that repackaging bottleneck that I said. In fast-paced teams, time is a challenge. Expectations are increasing since capital spend is also increasing. Friction kills maintenance. You can't keep repackaging a skill every single time you have a conversation with someone. So I really want to go back to this point. Speed and use of context transfer. And this is going to be the core of my idea today. And I've implemented this in my teams. So I want to talk about that. In 3 simple steps. Let's say your personal AI creates the context. This is you chatting with your chatbot. This is your memory. This is your specific works. But then a shared system stores it. It captures your nuances. It captures your knowledge of the subject. It captures new inputs and ideas from you, updating this shared system. And then any new team member that logs on, uses their personal AI, references and reuses this shared system. So in a more simplified manner, more diagrammatic form, if I can. Today you have your personal AI, you have your individual output, and you have manual handoff, and then your team knowledge becomes fragmented. But what I'm proposing is you have your personal AI, you have your output. A lot of us are generating, most of our final outputs are AI generated, but they're not updating themselves. So that output is going to be updated into a shared live context, which is going to define and also update your next AI workflow. So this sort of loop work system is an auto-updating context. And this is something I've been able to recreate for my teams, but obviously I can't share my data with all of you. So I've created a dummy company to walk us all through it. And the way that I have implemented it is I used a Notion and GitHub. And so for this live demo, I will walk you guys through it. For my work, I use GitHub. So I've created all of these skills on GitHub. The way that it works is I have that first skill. Okay. I'm still using the skill infrastructure, by the way. So I have this master skill that sort of like knows how to go ahead and update that shared layer. And this is that living operational layer. That shared layer lives on GitHub or Notion. And it knows when to update what depending on who is talking. And then you have any FNO session. This is, it could be as simple as you generating an email. It goes ahead and calls this operational living layer. So essentially, you have all of these layers converging when you're talking to your Claude chatbot. You have your skills, you have your live context fetch from that context layer, and you also have your session input from what you're talking. And now, don't think about one skill. Think about many skills. And for this example, I've created a dummy startup, right? So think about a GTS skill, a product skill, an HR skill, an onboarding skill, an engineering skill. All of these skills, it's kind of like a agentic structure, if you will, just being orchestrated. It's a symphony with an orchestra, and it's all being orchestrated by this master company skill that tells which skill you call when and how to update what in which to default. So this master skill manages all of these mini context layers and also knows how to update them. And then this engagement manager is another middle layer. So think of these as like sandwiches, right? Sandwich layers. An engagement manager is a simple data. This is for like reducing latency, not creating markdown files, the usual. It kind of keeps in mind all of the active decisions being made by teams. So that way, when it communicates with skills, it's also thinking about, hey, Ananya told me this, but Alex told me something else. I want to make sure that they both know that this is happening, that Alex worked on this query and it didn't work. So learnings getting updated each time. And this is sort of like the key sticky connective tissue that connects all of your skills to your session input. And this is your Claude session. So with that, let's go into live demo. I created a fake company that I worked on for a hackathon, calling it Leprechaun. don't apply, get discovered. It's a passive job seeking engine. And the way that this infrastructure is going to work is that I have a Leprechaun HQ Notion page. So this is where you could have any of your company information. You can replicate this structure for a small agile startup of 10 people to an organization of 5,000 people because individual teams can use this. So for my project in consulting, I've created a template that every single time that I get placed on a new project, we can very quickly, using 3-4 linchpin documents, create this sort of like HQ of context, everything that the LLM will need. And then there's the engagement state, a DB that I was mentioning that has the decisions, hypothesis, open questions, etc. And then you have that master skill, which also has a routing index. It knows about which skill to call when, which skill to update when. And these are all the different teammates that engage with these multiple names. With that, you guys want to see the demo? Okay, cool. Let's walk in that. Okay, so as you can see, this is my company HQ on Notion. Again, remember, dummy company. The metaphor was, how the leprechaun guards the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. We're like the intelligence layer that makes the right opportunity find you even before you have to go looking. So it's an always-on AI talent intelligence engine for consulting to tech pipelines specifically. Can you tell I'm in consulting? So some usuals, other contexts, etc. But this is where the magic lives. Your collaborative AI structure. There's a doc on for Claude to understand how this knowledge architecture system works. You have your skills and you have your engagement state. Looking into the skills specifically, this sort of is that routing engine I mentioned. It creates a protocol for Claude to understand which skill to call when, what the trigger keywords are. Very similar to the anatomy of a skill that you would see on Claude or GPT. But more importantly, it also has things like owners. This is really, really important when it comes to that accountability, re-updating, and has information about each skill and when it needs to be updated and so on. Now, the engagement layer, on the other hand, is this open database of just all of the current things that people are tracking right now, what they're working on, and more. And I'm going to show you some example chats that show this in practice. So all of these 3 documents that you see, the HQ, these 3 things, they're fed into a Leprechaun skill. This is the one that orchestrates and connects, calls the Notion MVP, and creates those updates as needed. So I'm pretending to be Marcus, who is head of engineering at Leprechaun, and says that, hey, I'm Marcus. I need to build a daily stand-up update for Ananya because she's working on a VC pitch. She needs this for the feature section, pull our ISPs and support features to give her the detailed rundown. So Leprechaun goes in. I'm going to show you the thinking here. It goes in, it reads a skill entry point, and then understands it's like I'm pulling live context, loads Notion, knows exactly what to do, what to look at, and then pull the full content for product build and brand pitch items to get the detail Ananya needs for the feature section. Uses Notion integration, figures out all the right things it needs, and then builds the stand-up brief. Now, this is nothing interesting. This is simple, brag, whatever. This is fine. Now, it gets interesting when it asks you an open question, and then I say that it's predictive, works on comprehensive ML, like this is really important, you need to add this in. So it logs this, closes the open questions, creates new decisions, and then eventually I say that, actually, this was missing in your documentation. Can you please make sure you add it in? It adds this important clarification in and locks it in and updates everything. So I not only have a generated stand-up document that I can send to my teammate, but it also updates context for my teammate itself. Without me having to send anything to the other person, all I need to do is, what are 3 features Marcus is working on that I can add to our deck as our USB? And this is like calling the Leprechaun skill early on, right? And then it gives me all the right things that I need to know. I know this context is very simplified right now, and it is based on a lot of dummy data, but think about the use cases when it comes to your real teams. When I'm working with a structure like this for my day-to-day, this is very important because we have client meetings regularly, right? And we have this weekly stand-up with this client that needs to get updated every single day after we gather more information from. So this becomes very, very important because you're not just like using RAG, but you're using understanding. There's a semantic layer, and also you're building upon it. So you're building on other people's work, you're updating your own work to this. And a really powerful way to do this for startups specifically, small teams when you're starting off, etc. I'm just going to be, as a CEO, I could be like, I have 3 new people join the team. I set up all the formal HR processes. Payroll is going to be through deal. Can you just update all of the onboarding workflows and etc. It does that. And when somebody new joins, let's say, hi, my name's Anira. I'm a product intern under Sarah. How do I set up payroll? It looks at the skill entry point, loads all the relevant tools, has, first updates the team page, team directory. I don't know if you guys remember, but there's a team directory as well. It updates the team directory and then updates any other team documentation needed because a new person has joined. And then looks at all the HR hubs, runs an onboarding workflow throughout, and most importantly, right after it updates the payroll section and walks the new person through how they get paid. It's as simple as this, but what the crux here is, what I did was, these tools already existed. We all know we had skills. We have access to files like .md. We can create JSONs, databases. You can do this in GitHub as well. Depends on whatever your connector of choice is. And just restructuring them in a way to enable collaborative work unlocks so much more. I basically have an enterprise living ecosystem by just using an infrastructure of skills. So you have all of this context across teams, right? Find that connection that you actually need, that you never indexed. So it's like that engagement layer right there is super, super helpful. And I think it has helped me unlock a lot of productivity. And we have begun using this tool to onboard multiple new people onto our projects now. So there's proof of work, and I would highly encourage a lot of you to try it. That's all for me.